You commented, it's time for me to respond. I'm going to try something new here because one of the things I don't like about this format is I kind of talk at you guys and then you guys proceed to make some really good points in the comment section. You check me, you take the conversation to the next level, and that's what needs to be done in any great debate, in any good, nuanced discussion. It requires a back and forth to kind of take things to the next level. So unfortunately, we don't get that back and forth immediately on air, and then I can respond to comments, with my keyboard, but that's not great either. So I want to try this. I have high hopes for this. I'm excited. And then, if you guys like this, I'll keep doing this when it makes sense. If you commented on the video and don't see your comment, it could be for a couple reasons. Either, I don't feel like it can, advance the discussion further, or it could be your comment's great. It's just someone said the same thing before you did. And I don't want to be redundant. I don't want to be repetitive. So don't take it personally if you don't see your comment. I appreciate all comments, even the hate comments, and maybe I'll even show some of those. I don't know. Let's start with this one. This is a long one from Josh Vani. I'm actually not going to, you know what? Never mind. I'm not going to even say your guys' names because I don't want to mispronounce your names. But so you'll see it on the screen. So this is a long one. This is the longest one. So he says, I don't understand how the analysis seems to minimize the extent of the surgical intervention. That's the exact word that Djokovic used. It's an elbow, for God's sake. Why do you think he delayed and just rehabbed for 6 months? Because surgeons do not recommend elbow surgery on top tennis athletes. At the end of the Australian Open, he decided to go for the surgery because the injury was still there. Then, after 2 months, he felt he could play without pain. But what do we see? 1, he has to fully rebuild his backhand movement and especially the power and placement in it. 2, he has to rebuild his serve, power, and placement. He had no match rhythm, and all of those things mentioned above are in his head. Of course, that affects him mentally. However, I think it starts with the physical. I stay with my original prediction. It has never been proven that a top tennis athlete can get back to top level after elbow surgery. If Novak can do it, and if anyone can, he can, then it will be a miracle if he is back by this year's U.S. Open. What's a miracle path? Play a few matches, and by Wimbledon, at that stage where he can last 2 to 3 rounds at a reasonable level, then take it up a notch over the summer and become the new Novak. Or he could hit a physical wall with his elbow. If he doesn't reach some level of promise by Wimbledon, I'm not sure he will pursue tennis longer. All right, so I'm going to take the comment down, but then I'm still going to have it on my screen. There's a lot of points in here, so I'll try to hit on each point. So first of all, let's see. What should we start with here? So basically, did I minimize the extent of surgical intervention? Yeah, that's very possible. It's very possible that I spent too much time looking at other things in that video, and I didn't spend enough time focusing on whether or not it's feasible to come back from elbow surgery and be the same. So in that respect, it's a fair point. At the same time, maybe Novak made a mistake by coming back to Indian Wells. Maybe he should not have played this tournament. That's very possible. But when he says, okay, I'm going to play this tournament, I'm ready to go, that tells me, okay, the elbow is ready. It's locked and loaded. And he's been very honest about having elbow pain. And after the match, he said his elbow didn't feel pain. At the same time, he said he was thinking about it. So I'll add this. I did speak with Steve Flink about Novak, and he said that was the main factor, that Novak was thinking about the elbow. So from a physical standpoint, I don't think you can say, I don't know, it's just hard, because if he comes back, he's telling us it's ready. It's ready to go. So, do I think like his elbow isn't at 100% right now? I don't think so. I think it is at 100%. At the same time, you make some other points in here. So let's see. One, he has to fully rebuild his backhand movement and especially the power and placement in it. Okay, so the first point is it's his right elbow. And I think Novak, when it comes to his backhand, it's actually very left arm heavy. So I really don't think that he didn't hit his backhand well in that match against Taro Daniel because of his elbow. It's also important to point out that his forehand was just as bad as his backhand. It was just a little bit more shocking to see his backhand at the level that it was at because his backhand is such an incredible stroke. But yeah, I can't blame the backhand struggles on the elbow surgery at this point. Number two, he has to rebuild his serve, power, and placement. Now you have a better argument. The serve is a much better argument because he's changed his technique to protect the elbow. And as I mentioned in that video, the technique seems to have eliminated his ability to hit the kick serve. So that's something he needs to work through, and that's a really good point. It is a point that I did make, but in terms of rebuilding his serve, his power, and his placement, maybe, yeah, that's a fair point. Maybe that's going to take time, but once again, I think his elbow's okay, so that might be more in the category of, rust and practice time, less so in the category of physical elbow problems. He had no match rhythm, and all those things mentioned above are in his head. Of course, that affects him mentally. However, I think it starts with the physical. So let me address the first part of that statement. He had no match rhythm. Here's the thing. I should have mentioned this. I wanted to make this point in the video, and I didn't. Novak Djokovic would have beaten a fair portion of top 100 players on Monday or Sunday, because today's Tuesday. Wait, today's Tuesday and the match was Sunday. So on Sunday, Djokovic would have beaten a fair portion of players, in my opinion. With that being said, take a look at the top 100. I think at least 50 players in the top 100 would have beaten Novak at the level he was at. So when it comes to he has no match rhythm, Djokovic without match rhythm should be able to still beat 70 guys in the top 100, in my opinion, because he's just that good. Djokovic is a guy, all the top players have a tremendous ability to beat other players when they're not at their best, to beat other players when they're not feeling it. So to lose to Taro Daniel is just, it's another category where I don't think you can be like, oh, he just didn't have his match. He's not match tough yet. Because a Djokovic that isn't match tough yet should still be able to beat most guys. And at the level he was at, I don't think Djokovic could beat most guys. I think he would have lost to, maybe 60 to 70 guys in the top 100. That's where his level was at. So that's what I would say to that. And then basically what this comment is really getting at is that it's possible. Oh, that's the wrong comment. What this comment is really getting at is that it's possible Novak will just never recover because elbow surgery is that serious. And I think that's a pretty good, not a good point as in I definitely agree, but a good point as in it's definitely plausible. I'm not a historian. I don't, there are plenty of people out there who know tennis history a little bit better than me. So this comment has asserted that no one's come back from elbow surgery and been effective. I can't refute that. At the same time, there might be someone out there who can refute that. I'm no historian. So that I'll leave it at that. I'm not sure. Maybe. At the same time, I just think that physically he should be able to overcome it just because I don't know. It's hard. But if he's playing, you might be right that the elbows will never be the same and that he'll call it quits soon. Maybe. Something's telling me that the elbow isn't going to end his career. That's all. Okay, let's see another comment. Let's go to this one. Great analysis, and maybe you are right that it's not only the elbow. I feel that there's another problem with Djokovic. He just has far less firepower, and now he also looks to have less endurance. He also looks thinner and thinner. Maybe it's diet. Too much healthy food has cut down on proteins and muscle after all. And then someone responds that rabbit food vegan diet is draining his life energy and willpower. I tried that diet a long time ago, and my performance in the gym went south. Diet. Yeah, so diet's, a big thing for Djokovic because in 2010, basically a guru or he discovered through someone else that he's sensitive to gluten. He gets off gluten, and in 2011, he has his breakout season. I did some searching, and there are a lot of results that are saying that, maybe Djokovic is not vegan. I found one interview that or one article that suggests he is vegan, but mostly I don't actually think he's vegan. I think he is on a plant-based diet, but I do think that he mixes in fish and meat. Definitely fish, I believe. In terms of his diet, I'd like to ask him that question. I think someone should ask him that question. So that's interesting. What's my take on veganism and plant-based diet? I think it's mostly difficult for anyone who has an elite level of energy exertion on a daily basis. So ketogenic diets are in right now. I think when it comes to losing weight, ketogenic diets seem to make a lot of sense, but to expect that you're going to be able to absorb enough fat-based calories to exert as much energy as a professional athlete exerts is probably completely unrealistic. So for a professional athlete to try to get everything from plant-based, from, avocado and nuts and all that stuff, it's going to be near impossible. How does that apply to Djokovic? I'm not quite sure. It's really unfair to talk about this unless you ask him. Okay. What worries me with Nole is that his struggles come from his mental side. That is a big thing for me. In a way, forgive me for saying this, but the fire or hunger to win is no longer like before. This is what sets him and Fed and Nadal apart, especially Fed. At his age, he's still hungry for more. He is still so passionate, and in a way that drives him to reach the top at his age. We don't know what goes on in his life, but clearly it's affecting his game. Again, take Federer as an example. He has such a strong team and understanding family that clearly help his game too. For Nole, he can clearly do it. I'm going to be more optimistic and just patiently wait to see how he performs this year. He needs to take his time. That's understandable. All right. I would object to the suggestion that Nadal and Federer are more competitive or more hungry than Djokovic. I think if you need to measure competitiveness at, its mean competitiveness. I use the word mean in the sense of an average competitiveness. And on average, what we've seen from Djokovic, it's a high level of compete level. That sounds stupid. But Djokovic is a competitor. Federer is a competitor, as is Nadal. I'd put them pretty much all on equal footing that way. Sometimes, sometimes Spanish players like Nadal and Ferrer, honestly take it to another level. But for the purposes of this conversation, I don't think Djokovic is any less of a competitor than Federer or Nadal. So I would object to that. And then the last point in this is I'm going to be more I'm actually not done with this. So at the same time, there is truth to the fact that Djokovic doesn't have the same kind of fire that we're used to seeing from Djokovic. That is true, for sure, no doubt. I mentioned at the end of the third set against Daniel, he quit. And, at the end of the last set against Team, or actually for the entire last set against Team at the French, he quit, and that's not something we're used to seeing. But I think that's more a matter of Djokovic taking his spirit being taken away from him some way. Djokovic being desolate, Djokovic not being himself, and something kind of, Djokovic being demoralized and listless and desolate. It's not the actual Novak Djokovic. He needs to tap into the actual Novak Djokovic. And in that sense, I'd say you're right. The person who commented this is right. But I think it could happen to anyone, really. I think it's just a matter of Djokovic kind of having something traumatic happen in his psyche in the last year or so, and his elbow. And his elbow is probably a part of it. Okay. Oh yeah, and then the last part of this comment is he needs to take his, I'm going to be more optimistic and just patiently wait to see how he performs this year. That's the last part of that comment, which I agree with. I think you need to be a little bit patient. So let me talk about that. And then actually, before I talk about that, I'll show this comment. Djokovic to win the U.S. Open. What are you and your eyebrows smoking? Okay, so my eyebrows think that what I expected slow progression for Djokovic this year. Now, he's behind schedule. He's definitely behind schedule, missing the last 2 months. Nothing overly encouraging at the Australian Open, but a decent Australian Open. Losing to Chung at this stage, or at the stage that Djokovic was at, there's really no shame to that. And then obviously he was delayed by the surgery. What I thought would happen for Djokovic this year is that for a large portion of the season, he would have a lot of trouble beating, Federer and Nadal, or, maybe even, the Dimitrovs and the Del Potros of the world. I thought it would take him until the end of the year, maybe like the U.S. Open, until he could get to the point where he could actually win tournaments. So that's why I picked him to win the U.S. Open. For various reasons. I don't love Federer or Nadal at the U.S. Open. I like Federer much better for the Australian Open. We saw how that worked out. I like Federer much better for Wimbledon. We will see how that worked out, or how that will work out. I'm not going to get into those reasons now, but for all those reasons, I liked Djokovic to win the U.S. Open. Because I picked him at the beginning of the year, I'll stick with it for now. But Djokovic is definitely behind schedule. We need to, he needs to get to the point where he's beating the guys he should beat. And, he'll struggle against top 10 players probably in the immediate future. But, first he needs to climb that first hump. And we'll see if he's, if he's in a position to get over that hump by the time the U.S. Open comes around. There's still plenty of time. All right, I'm definitely going to keep this under 20 minutes. I don't want to let this get too long. Let's see, what's this? I think the only thing that can help him is I think the only thing what can help him, that's the typo, is taking another level, even longer break until next year, Indian Wells, or at least Aussie Open. This may sound dumb, but what can you do? This elbow thing needs to be fully removed. Okay, not a lot of punctuation in that, but I got it. And then someone replied, his elbow is okay, otherwise he wouldn't have played, which I kind of went over at the beginning of the video. Should he take a break? Well, he should probably skip Miami. That's for sure. He should probably skip Miami. Or maybe not. If he's physically fine, all he can do is keep getting on the court and hope something clicks for him confidence-wise. Hope something clicks for him, on the court where he can turn the ship around. If he's okay physically. There's no reason to keep yourself off the court if you're fine. But are you fine? And that's what's so hard about this predicament. Is his elbow really okay? And if his elbow isn't okay, or let's say his elbow's okay and he wants to take time off, I don't know if we can say that that's going to help him, because he's already had so much time off. He's already had so much time to figure this out. Whatever's in his head right now, he's had time to work this out, and it appears it's still not worked out. So is more time gonna remedy that? I don't know. Okay, have we got through everything here? Let me go through the comments real quick. So there's this one, this one, this one, this one. That is everything. Okay. And we're past the 20-minute mark. So let me know if you enjoyed this. If you did, I think I enjoyed it. I think it was fun. And I think it's good. I think it kind of takes the discussion even deeper. So let me know what you think of this. And you can reply to my reply to you guys. And look forward to more Indian Wells content throughout the week. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.